Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today, we're jumping into something pretty fundamental, a real split in how people see the world. The gap between those who are, let's say, very proud of being rational and those who lean more towards, well, superstition.
And the rational camp can be quite cutting about it, can't they? There's this real dismissiveness, almost a mockery for anyone who thinks, I don't know, planetary alignments affect their dating life.
Or, yeah, someone praying for a miracle cure when the doctors have said there's nothing more to be done. The rational person sees that as, what was the phrase, knuckle-headed naivety.
Exactly. It's this assumption that if you just thought harder, more logically, you wouldn't fall for that stuff. Like wishing or chanting could somehow bend reality. It seems absurd if you pride yourself on reason.
And on the surface, their logic feels solid, right? Science works, cause and effect are real things. You trust data, not magic wands.
Seems straightforward. But what if that whole viewpoint, that confidence in reason, is actually missing the real story? That's what we're diving into today. The idea that this supposed logical superiority, it might not be about intellect at all.
Okay, hang on. That's a pretty big claim. You're saying being rational, thinking clearly, isn't an achievement of the mind.
The sources we're looking at argue exactly that. This ability to stay cool, trust the facts, rely on evidence. It's not really about being smarter. It's not a sign of, superior logic or hard-won reasoning power.
Okay, let's unpack this then. If it's not about brain power, what is it about?
It's simpler and maybe a bit harder to swallow for the very rational among us. It comes down to Becker and good fortune, basically luck. We think rationality is a virtue we've cultivated, but maybe it's just a luxury afforded by circumstance.
Wow. So wait, my ability to think things through calmly, step by step, that's less about me being clever and more about things just being relatively okay in my life right now.
That's the core argument, yes. Stability is the hidden ingredient. If life isn't throwing absolute chaos at you, you have the mental space, the luxury to trust in orderly processes.
And when you see it that way, those superstitious actions start to look different. Not like failures of logic, but maybe acts of desperation.
Exactly. When the odds feel impossible, people grasp at straws. It's human. So if you've never felt the urge to, say, fall on your knees and beg an angel for help,
It's not because I'm inherently wiser.
it might just be because your world hasn't crumbled yet, your safety net is still there. You haven't been pushed to the point where you'd try sending a telepathic message to an ex or desperately need a horoscope to offer some glimmer of hope.
Because the normal channels, the rational approaches, they're still working for me.
Precisely. The systems are functioning, more or less. You have recourse.
Okay, so let's picture that person who can be rational. The one who, calmly steps back, trusts science, trusts the process.
The objective observer, confident that things unfold predictably. We need to ask, what's holding them up? What's the foundation for that calmness?
And the answer isn't a superior intellect.
No. According to this perspective, the answer is stability. Their life, right now, is manageable. Think about what they're not dealing with. Their child isn't facing a devastating illness. Their partner of 5 years didn't just vanish without a word. They're not about to lose their home.
The moment that kind of catastrophic pain walks in,
Yeah.
logic often walks out. Is that it?
That seems to be the crux of it. When you're facing something truly awful, something overwhelming that normal logic or systems can't fix, that cool rationality can just evaporate. If you're told there's a 99% chance of disaster but a 1% chance of a miracle, even the most rational person might find themselves clinging to that 1% no matter how absurd the method seems.
That's quite a sobering thought. It suggests the main difference isn't intelligence, but maybe just timing and luck.
And circumstance, absolutely. It implies that maybe the focus for the rational shouldn't be scorn, but building stronger safety nets for everyone.
Yeah.
Better health care, stable housing, mental health support, things that reduce the desperation that fuels what looks like credulity.
Because when the official systems fail you,
The mind gets creative, sometimes magically creative. Think about someone tangled in impossible bureaucracy. They've done everything right, followed all the logical steps, but they're still facing eviction or deportation because of some glitch nobody can explain.
logic has hit a brick wall for them.
Completely. So maybe they consult a psychic about the best day to call the office or wear a lucky charm to an appeal hearing. It's not that they suddenly stopped believing in reason. It's that reason offered them nothing. They're looking for any leverage, anywhere.
So the call is for more empathy, more imagination from the rational side. Instead of judging the belief, try to imagine the pain or the desperation that might have sparked it.
Exactly. We should ask why someone feels the need for magical thinking. Which flips the script, doesn't it? The superstitious aren't necessarily limited, they might just be hurting a lot more.
Which leads to that really powerful conclusion you mentioned earlier.
Yes, that credulity, believing in unlikely things, is fundamentally a measure of despair, not a measure of intelligence. When someone mocks a person buying a healing crystal, they might actually be mocking someone whose entire world feels like it's collapsing, whose rational options have run out. The odds feel monstrously larger to them.
I see the despair argument, it's compelling. But does critical thinking play no role? Isn't there still value in questioning and analyzing, even when things are tough?
Oh, absolutely. Critical thinking is vital, but it's also, in a way, a luxury. It requires mental energy, a certain amount of peace, maybe even education and time. Despair tends to erode all of that.
When you're in survival mode, you're not calmly evaluating statistical probability.
Exactly. You're grabbing for a lifeline. Any lifeline. Now.
So, if rationality isn't primarily rooted in reason, what are its deepest roots? Psychologically, where does that feeling of sensibility come from?
It seems to come from something much more basic. A feeling. A deep, often unconscious sense of underlying safety and predictability in the world. That feeling is like the soil where rational thought can actually grow.
And if the soil gets poisoned?
The plant withers. This feeling relies on a whole set of quiet assumptions we make every day, like the belief that truth, even if hard, is bearable, that people we love will generally be kind, that our bodies won't just betray us without warning, that the economy won't completely implode tomorrow, that our kids are fundamentally safe.
That's a lot of background trust. Yeah. An invisible architecture holding up our ability to face reality calmly.
Yes, and when that architecture is intact, we feel resilient enough for skepticism, for careful consideration. We have the bandwidth for reason.
But it's fragile.
Very. It's not an intellectual state we achieve and then permanently possess. It's an emotional response conditioned by reasonably good circumstances. If the financial system tanks, or a doctor gives you shattering news, or you face arbitrary injustice, poof, the luxury of calm, sensible thought can vanish.
You're thrown back into just grasping, trying to find any structure in the chaos.
Which brings us back to that stark line. We can all afford to be sensible until our luck runs out.
That really hits home. It implies rationality isn't a fixed identity, but a state dependent on fortune.
And it should make anyone who feels comfortably rational pause. When you see someone else embracing what seems like a desperate belief, you're not necessarily looking at someone less intelligent. You might be looking at a version of yourself, just a few bad breaks down the road.
That's the hidden cost, isn't it? Mistaking our good fortune for personal virtue and judging others who are just struggling with immense pain or uncertainty, it reframes everything. So maybe as you're listening, take a moment. Think about your own confidence in logic, in science, in predictable outcomes, and ask yourself honestly, how much of that confidence rests on your intellectual rigor, and how much rests on the simple fact that right now, your foundations feel relatively stable. Where is your luck holding?
And perhaps the final thought to take away from this, tying together that thread of luck and despair, is this. Let's hope, maybe even pray, that none of us find ourselves anytime soon in a situation where prayer feels like the only real option left.
A powerful place to end this deep dive. Thank you for joining us as we explored the surprising fragility of reason. We'll see you next time.